It's an honor to come down. It's so cool to see this because for the guys have been doing it for a long time. It was a lot different back for me. It's in '96. There's guys here talking in the '80s. We didn't have people to talk to back then, so that's why I do this, is because I know what it's like not to have someone to talk to. So, all right, we're gonna talk to maximizing beds of soil health, and we'll hit a little bit of everything. I hope you can read that from out there, because I'm not going to tell you it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I was a wrestling coach for 18 years. My son wrestled, both my sons wrestled, great wrestlers. But I always remember in junior high there was a kid who was an absolute stud that told me when we got done with the 8th grade season, like, I'm not going to wrestle in high school. I'm like, oh, why would you not wrestle? And he said, because I don't like the coach, the head coach. I wasn't the head coach. I was assistant at the high school, but he said, I don't like the head coach. And I told him, I said, Michael, why would you let one guy hold you back? If one guy holds you back now as a kid, the rest of your life, you're going to have one person hold you back. And boy, if you want to do something, you better take an army to stop you, right? So I told him, let's just go on and wrestle, and he did. He went to the high school, he ended up getting second in state 2 years in a row. There was one guy that was better, and that's the only guy that could stop him. But as I told him that, I thought, what about me? I'm doing these covers, these green things, and am I really working my potential on it? And I realized that maybe that one person holding me back is myself. All right? Most Rachel always says, it's right here, right between the brains, the ears is what's holding us back. And I solely believe that. And after that, I took my own words of wisdom, and we've just flown with this now. So hopefully you read that. I will say at the bottom, I've sat in a hole in the ground a lot as a kid doing tiling, so I realized that, there was something wrong in the soil. But there's my family, wife, 2 sons, 2 daughters, 2 grandsons, now it's 3, and my niece 2. So what is a farmer? Technical term is farms person engaged in agriculture, raising living organisms, right? We raise crops, we do all that. But if you know me, I'm just an average Joe. I don't really care what definition is. Paul Harvey's more my words of wisdom as a farmer, but I will say as a farmer, we are tough SOBs, right? We have to be a jack of all trades. We do everything. We're survivors, right? Who else can buy retail and sell wholesale and still survive? It's not easy, but to put a definition on farmers, no, we're much more than that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about maximizing your cover crops and row crop system. And when I first started, I didn't know there's soil health principles, but as I look back and started doing this stuff, I was like, okay, I got to lay it out for you and for me too. But I would follow my soil health principles. But realistically, I didn't know about them, so I just started setting goals on my farm that I wanted to accomplish. And I had a couple guys that I could go see what their soil looked like. And that's super important to have a spot to go to and look at the soil and say, I want to get to that level. Because my soil is not there yet, but I see that it's achievable. So that's goals. You got to have planning. If you're using chemical, most things, what do chemicals do? They kill plants, right? And we're working with plants. So be very careful with that. Methods of planting. There's so many different ways of planting a cover crop. Grading your plants for success. It's kind of like your cash crop. You do all this investment into it. I invest the same amount of attention to my cover crops. Grading plants. Spring growth. It's so weird to go out into a field and see something growing that's not a corn or soybean, right? So you have to learn to see what they look like. If you're going to grow something, you got to know how to terminate it too. And there's tillage and chemical. And I put diversity down there because even though it's already in the soil health principles, diversity is just absolutely amazing. So, there's soil health principles: protect the soil, minimize disturbance, plant diversity, continuous living root, livestock integration, context. We'll go over more of that later. I'll go over my goals. For me, when I first started farming, I wanted reduce tillage. I wanted weed suppression. Actually, the first time I started doing cover crops, I was getting paid to do tillage. But after 1 year, I realized I gotta start doing other things too. But organic transition. We got any organic guys here? Oh man, all right. You know what? I never thought I'd be organic. But I fell into it because I was doing a really good job on the cover crops. And that weed suppression just kind of said, here you go. Here's a clean field with no chemicals. And now I was able to move into transition. Right now I'm only about 40% organic and 60% conventional. Reduce fuel, right? Cycle nutrients. Organic world, you don't get to use synthetic fertilizer, so I'm always constantly trying to recycle those nutrients. And plants are the ones that do it for me. Bring it up, put it down. Bring it up, put it down. What are your goals? I can sit up here and talk all day, but you guys have to sit here and realize, what do I want to do on my farm? And what steps do I want to take? Well, if you're planning on doing cover crops, you're in a good spot. Because you need to get to winter time, you need to get out and realize that I'm going to set a plan up in place. And most people, it's winter rye if you want something to live. No-till soybeans into it. If you got corn, grow some oats, let it winter kill. It's good options. I will say if you're going to plant it, many, many ways. Network with farmers around you and see what's working in your area. How many pounds to plant? For me, it's easy. The earlier I go, the less I can plant. The later it is, the more I plant. Because those GDUs in September are drastically different from the 30th compared to the 1st. Here's a couple good spots. Penn State. Usually I put U of M over Wisconsin, but I was here, so I switched it around. But no, they're both really good spots. But there's also the Cover Crop Council. Many good things on the internet. But now, you're at a winter meeting, you got plans, you got some ideas. Get out in the summertime and get to these soil health events. They're all over the place. You also got to get your cover crop seed ordered. Because the more that we do this, the infrastructure is just not there for everyone to grow cover crops. All right, everyone thinks, oh, we wish everyone was doing it. We can't. Unless you start growing them, which is a great another revenue for your farm to start growing some cover crop seed, but you gotta be careful because you gotta get it tested and do it right. The field days are great. The only thing you're ever gonna take to the grave is the knowledge that you've learned. So keep learning. In the fall time, now you can realize that, hey, there's my options for planting, high clearance, spreaders, aerial drones. Been using that a lot more lately. If it's after harvest, the drill is still the best, but it's slow. But it's just, you can't beat seed soil contact when it's in the ground at the right depth. But whatever you're doing, whatever way you're planting that cover crop, make sure that the ground is ready. Because next year, that's your seed bed. When I first started doing covers, it was on a disc, right? Because I was getting paid to do tillage. I realized that, boy, I gotta leave this ground a lot more finished than I thought. The next spring after that, now you have to realize that, okay, go out and scout your cover crops. You go out and scout your cash crop, don't you? How many times do you walk in a corn and soybean field? 25 times a year, at least. When you're not in a tractor or a truck driving by. Same with the covers. I still walk out there and I want to learn what's going on. Have you ready your no-till planter going? Which is literally, I changed my closing wheels. That's the only thing I did. It doesn't have to get fancy. These planters will work pretty dang good as long as you have halfway decent soil. But trust yourself. Remember that wrestler? He was scared to go up there. He wasn't trusting himself that he could do it. You need to trust yourself when you're doing this. Remember, when you're planting covers, it's a plant. You're dealing with Mother Nature. She throws curveballs, so you have to be able to jack of all trades and adapt to the conditions, the environments, and the times. If it's really dry out, I don't go broadcast. If it's a lot of rain, I'll broadcast every time. Because that's the no disturbance on the soil, but I better get that rain so I get something growing. Now, methods of planting. Here's springtime, there's early summer, midsummer, after harvest. I'll show you. Johnny Appleseed. That's probably the best way to start. If you've never grown anything else, you can literally grab some seed right now, go out, throw it out in that field. just to see what it looks like. Because, like I said, corn soybean plant is a lot different when it's a winter rye plant or a Nebraska or something. I've used floater trucks. I don't always use that. I've only used it like once or twice. We had a 3-inch rain, and I wanted to get out in the field September 15th, and I knew there was a bunch of rain still coming for the next 3 weeks. And I sat there and looked, okay, if I get it out there growing now, September 15th, how is it going to grow compared to getting it seeded October 5th or 10th? I was going to get half the growth. So I used that floater, ran out, everything worked fine. Springtime, if I have a really good cover crop growing, I'll go out there and put even more out there if I want to use it for forage. And of course, I even go out into my pastures and seed cover crops too. Now, how many months of the year have I seeded? Just about every single month except for December. And I have gone right up to like November 30th. But I usually don't do December or January, and I actually, scaringly, I had planned February too. And if the weather's right, I do it. Springtime, get that drill. In the fall, the drill is just the best way to go. Here's the interseeding that I do. So I want to get more covers into my field. This is a great option, but now I have to change my, if I'm always going winter rye, now I have to change what I'm planting. Now it's going more towards an annual ryegrass, different plants, which is fabulous. But if you want to go to soybeans the next year, now you're not going to be able, you can still no-till it, but you won't have that 5-6 foot tall grass. And when I'm doing that, see how the ground's covered? That ground is armored, right? Remember the principles? I flew through them, I'll go over here. The ground is covered. Now I'm feeding the soil. I'm putting annual ryegrass out there, red clover. I like red clover because it competes much better than, say, a crimson clover. Not that you can't get crimson growing, but for me, the high competition, I want that red clover. And I always get a buckwheat. I just got a grass, Nebraska, and a legume. I want that diversity. Remember, I threw diversity out there? You always want more. But when I put the red clover in there, do you think I'm going after pounds of nitrogen? Oh, come on, guys. Do you think I'm going after pounds of nitrogen? Not really. I'm after biology. I'm after teaching that soil how to actually grab nitrogen, which, how much is there above us right now, Rick? You probably know. I don't.
Tons.
There's tons and tons and tons of it. If you have legumes, you can grab it, put it in the soil. That's what I'm after. I'm after the biology, learning how to take that. And of course, high seeding, if it's dry out, I'll skip that operation, and I'll come back with the high clearance, or a drone. And I absolutely love combining soybeans on that. I'll get in there a day before anyone else, I guarantee you, after a rain. And of course, drone.
Well, it's Tom Cotter in Southern Minnesota. We're out seeding some cover crops with Jordan Stickle and putting on about 7 pounds annual ryegrass and 4 pounds of brassicas, mustard, rapeseed, and radish. This field is going to sweet corn, so we don't plant until June 15th. So we have a little over 2 months of grow time, so it should be good.
Remember how I had the soil health principles and diversities in there, and then I threw diversity down there again? Because it's super important. I diversified my cash crop, and now I was able to go in there in the spring and plant even more stuff and still graze on that. Those machines are pretty amazing. I definitely see myself getting one of those in the future. Airplane, anyone use the airplane for seeding? No? No one? Come on, kids. You guys are like third graders. No, third graders do better than this. Okay, third graders, how many kids? And they all raise their hands. How many guys have flown on? There we go. I have not. I'm too cheap. I want to do it myself. But boy, I will tell you, and I have a friend that flies. If you're going to find someone to fly, make sure they do it actually for a living. You don't want someone just going out and saying, oh, I fly, spray chemicals, I'll just do seed too. You don't want a purple top turnip growing out of your wife's gutters, okay? This is probably one of my favorite ways of planting cover crops because it's fast, it's great seed to soil contact, you can't even tell it's out there. Lag row your hoe, I combine beans in the afternoon, Next morning, hop in that thing, 40-foot wide, 9 to 10, 12 miles an hour. I can do everything I picked in 10 hours in about 2 hours. It's a great way of doing it. And that's what it looks like. Now, remember I told you I started with the disc? Boy, every time I did that, I planted a cover crop, I took a step forward. I was doing tillage, so I was actually going back 2 steps. You know, there was a negative, there was a positive. Maybe they were balancing out, but it was at least a lesson learned, and I was making an attempt. Now I put it on the VT. That Gandy airbox, bought that 96 for $600. They're worth about $5,000 right now. If you get a used one, $4,000 to $5,000, or new ones, you know, $10, $12. But it's a versatile tool. It goes on that interseeder. It's been on the disc if I need it. I don't use that very often now. Now it's a vertical till, but that's only after, say, a canning crop of peas where maybe there's heavy equipment out there. I might want to level a little bit. But you see all these different ways of planting. I'm doing 6 different ways every year, guaranteed. But that is nice too, because sometimes you're in a hurry. I want to level that soil just a little bit. The vertical till cuts in a little bit. It's probably a little more tillage than I want, but it does do a good job. So now, grade your fields in the spring, right? So go out just like your cash crops. You're looking at your corn or beans. I do it with my cover crops. I go there and I look, and it's a perfect stand. That last picture I showed where it's a perfect stand, that's A grade. I can start thinking about reducing chemical. Right? It's not always about reducing tillage. It's reducing everything, chemical disturbance and physical disturbance. But every time that happens, I think, oh man, that was easy. It always works like that, right? No, it doesn't. Nope. I go out, if I have bare spots, now it's a B grade, maybe there's spots there, I will go out and I will frost seed and fill in those spots. Why? Because Mother Nature does not want to be exposed. Right? She's out there naked, has bare spots, she will cover herself, just like any of us would do. But good things are still happening. I'll probably keep the chemical plan in place because I don't want to have a problem with the weeds either. C grade, yeah, there's spots here and there. Get that frost seeding going. Start thinking, why is it not working? Why is it not working for me? Was it me? Was it the weather? D grade, now you really have to network with people because now you got to know that this failure, I'm not getting my money back what I put into it. You need to learn how to make it better. And that usually comes from networking with people around you or going to the seeds and making sure the germination is good, because I have bought seed before and they literally try and slip you a low germination seed. Be conscious of what you're putting out there. F grade, total failure. That's when I sit there and go, oh my gosh, someone please help me. It's a disaster. And it happens. I'll show you a picture where I'm interseeding and there's nothing on the ground. But instead of just, saying, oh, I quit, I give up, I'm working hard to make it better. So spring growth, what plant height are you comfortable with? The first time, Mike, you did covers, did you let them go real tall, or
No.
did you take them all short?
No, yeah, they were like only about a foot tall.
Foot tall, yep.
Yep, I was scared.
I was scared. We're all scared. My first time planting no-till in the covers, I jumped off that planter at least 10 times, called the seed dealer, who was my buddy, and said, hey, what do I gotta do? What do I gotta do? And I was worried. Started getting my phone out, calculating how much it was gonna cost me to replant. I thought I was gonna make a failure. And I thought, oh shit, my dad's gonna kill me. And you know what? It ended up being one of our top 3 fields. The next year we doubled it up and went 80 acres. That was in the top 3. Every single field for the next 5 years was always in the top 3. Wasn't always the best, but definitely had the best ROI, I'll guarantee you that. But they're always consistently good. So, but if you're gonna grow stuff, you have to know the carbon-nitrogen ratio. You gotta know, do I want it to break down fast, or do I want it to stay in there and cover the ground more? What helps winter survival, guys?
Early planting.
What's that?
Early planting.
Early planting, yes. What else?
Snow?
Snow cover, which we get none of. I saw my first snow 4 inches here 2 days ago for the whole year. That snow is super important. You know why? Because that snow covers our cover crops. And our cover crops cover what? Our soil. And that soil protects what? Biology, okay, getting better. You guys are up to a D grade now. But you gotta always be thinking of how these things compound back. You know, one thing of not having snow really does hurt you. How do I do it? I try and leave more residue on the ground, higher carbon-nitrogen ratio stuff. I have green out there that breaks down in the wintertime. I want that residue, high carbon, to protect the soil. What benefits do I want? If you're a new beginner at it, think about your cash crop first. Well, you should always think about your cash crop first, but I'm kind of the spot where now I know if I feed the soil good, that soil will take care of my plant. My dad always said, if you take care of the land, it'll take care of you. And it's so true. Now, forage possibilities, who has livestock here? All right, I'm a huge livestock guy. I love them, but there's always a possibility. I didn't think I'd ever go grass finished, but it literally just fell into my lap because all of a sudden we had 800,000 acres of cover crops growing. It's like, wow, why do I need to chop this field of corn if there's so much forage out there? Huge possibilities, but I had to diversify my crop rotation to take advantage of it. That's why that sweet corn, it worked really good because I didn't have to plant till June 15th. I got to graze all of, well, last bit of April, all of May, and half of June. That's a month and a half of feed that I don't have to feed them. Do I terminate before or after planting? I always go after, but boy, if it's dry, you better get rid of it because you don't want to be sucking up all that moisture. Now, termination techniques. If you grow it, you gotta terminate, you gotta know how to do it. Always actively growing plants. I know co-ops in my area have been notorious about killing cover crops. If it's a weed out in a bean field in the middle of summer, they'll do a perfect job. But if it's in the springtime, they don't care what's going on. It could be 30 degrees out. Oh, that plant's not growing. We're still going to spray it. No. You have to make sure that it's actively growing. Look at temperatures days before and after application. That's huge. Spray between 9 and 3. Make sure water is balanced. Right? Tim? Make sure that pH of that water is soft. Heard some great stuff last night from him. I add pre-herbicide when I'm killing winter rye. If it's an annual ryegrass, I take it out. I want to make sure I can terminate that because annual ryegrass is a great plant, a fibrous root system, but it can be hard to kill unless conditions are absolutely perfect. Crimping at the right stage. Who here has crimped rye? All right, get that hand up higher. Banning chemical. Does anyone ban chemical anymore? Remember, soil principles, reducing disturbance, that's always an option. Green manure incorporation, who does that here? No one. Oh man. All right, grazing low and using tillage. No one does that either because they're not doing tillage, right? Well, tillage or chemical, there's pros and cons of both. We literally think everything is just peachy keen, but for every reaction, there's another reaction. Chemical does it, physically it does it, disturbance, tillage does it too. But I always think about what do I have available? How can I kill it? Do I have to hire the co-op? Now you're spending more money. Maybe a tillage tool is better. But if you don't have a tillage tool and you got spray, the spray is definitely easier and faster. What makes the most economical sense? Sometimes I don't think we think about that. The ROI, we're always thinking yield, right? We're not thinking ROI. Think about that. Evidence suggests tillage was done 3000 BC, probably even before that. How many years left of soil do we have for growing crops? I'm going to ask you, Rick, I know you know.
Supposedly 60.
Supposedly, yep, I'll agree with that. In fact, pesticides began in the 1930s. Now it's widespread. You know, how many years left of that? It's only been 100 years of chemicals, right? Things are changing pretty fast. What are the hidden costs of each? Chemical, tillage, if you're gonna do it with a purpose. And make sure that you actually did go out and count for aphids. Way too many guys just say, oh, I saw one aphid, gotta spray it. Oh, I saw one weed, I'm gonna spray the whole dang field. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of time, and it's not helping us. Now, FIST. Ray Archuleta talks about this a lot. Frequency, intensity, scale, and timing. And I totally agree. And it doesn't matter if it's chemical or tillage. How often are you doing it? Are you spraying 10 times a summer? Something's wrong if you're spraying that many times. Are you doing tillage that many times? Something's wrong. Intensity. Am I blasting through with a huge tillage machine going 600 horse tractor and just ripping everything apart? Or am I slowly just doing a little bit at a time? Scale. The whole farm? Or maybe just where it only needed it? Sometimes you have to make necessary evils. I'm not against chemical, I'm not against tillage, but I only want to see you guys using it when it's correctly needed. Now, timing. Do you go apply chemical right before a rainstorm? No? Depends? Yeah, I'm never too hot on spraying something and getting rain after.
Some herbicides need water to activate.
Okay. Well, you got me on that one. But more times, I bet you 95% of the time, that's not the case. So make sure your timing, just same with tillage. I'm organic, I don't do tillage in the fall. I'll do a little bit in the spring and make sure I plant something right away. Alright, any which way you do, don't be an addict. I'll guarantee you we are addicted to chemicals and we are addicted to tillage. We're addicted to a lot of things. I'm addicted to food. Not alcohol, I mean I'll have a beer but I can stop, but boy, you put that pizza in front of me last night, Mike, I was like, alright, let's eat it all. Spraying chemical, just be conscious. Right here, I'm doing tillage, doing a bad thing, but I'm incorporating green manure. There's a purpose for that tillage trip. Right there. I'm not even doing tillage. I'm just laying a cover crop down. That's actually in the fall, that year, the next year, I planted hemp right there. And I laid that mat down, it was 8 foot tall stuff, easy, it's thicker than heck. I was worried about, is there gonna be anything, am I gonna be able to get to the ground next year? That soil ate all that. And then next year is just beautiful soil, and I just laid it down. How about crimping? You can do crimping, absolutely. How about in-row crimping? You know, down south it's easier for them to crimp because they can do it earlier. Up here, that's not till, for me it's June 7th or 10th for crimping. Same time frame here, guys. Yeah? If you're planting soybeans real early, it could be a problem. I think soybeans are okay. I think if you teach that ground how to work with plants, it's not that bad. But I really like this. Still working on my crimper. How about bio strips? How about strategically planting the plants so that winter kills where you want to plant, and you can leave that cover in between the rows growing longer. Man, I spent a lot of money on cover crops. And I started thinking about, okay, ROI. How do I get the best bang out of the buck? My best bang is to leave that cover crop growing for the next year too. Well, my best one is the cattle in the fall, in the winter, in the spring grazing. But I also want that cover crop there to give me something for the next year's catch crop. When I first started, I went strip till. I was doing covers really early, 98. Started doing strip till, bought a bar, played with it in 2013. Wasn't very good at it because I really didn't know what I was doing. Hired Soil Wire to come in 2015 and do strips. I absolutely loved it. Loved it because now I'm doing a little bit of tillage, but I'm reducing it. I'm getting my fertilizer right where I needed it, which the ROI on that is crazy. It's way better than just broadcasting out there. Getting more benefits from the cover crop, protecting the soil. That's what it looks like going into. Absolutely perfect driving conditions. There's my closing wheels. I would just loosen those up so I didn't have any pressure on there. That's for soybeans more. Beautiful strips, fantastic yields. Any guy doing full tillage is nuts. He should be going to strip till. The cost of the application, you can reduce your fertilizer by 20%. Easy. I went at 75%. Best yields I ever had. Now, diversity, right? Gotta have diversity in there, even though it's in the soil health principles, but having the right plants working together helps survive drought. Different plants are pulling up different at different times, nutrients at different times. They're also using water at different times. And they will share if your ground is healthy. Extreme weather, temperature, like us, they're stronger, much stronger than if we're alone. I also think it's super important to reteach the soil. Because most farms here have been abused with tillage and chemical, and these soil microbes are used to feeding what? One corn plant, one soybean plant the next year, and there's only this food source. I want diversity. Of all the plants out there, there's warm and cool season and everything. There's grasses, legumes, brassicas, broadleaves, pollinators. Teach them how to work together. You will never teach them if you just have corn and just a soybean plant. And most people think, oh, oats doesn't give me good ROI. Well, you know what? To me, ROI should be based across your crop rotation. My crop rotation is 4 to 5 to 6 different species in that many years, along with all the cover crops I put out there. I'm feeding that biology. So cool season grass, super easy to get established, great fibrous systems, excellent spring growth, doesn't get a lot of fall growth, but it stays green, right? Can be a great alternative forage. Boy, when corn is really high and it's worth $8, why do I want to chop that? I'd much rather give them a plant that they are made to eat. Cattle are not made to eat corn. I had some pigs, they were getting some corn. I got rid of them, I had a little bit of corn left, I went threw it out to my grass finished cattle. There's just like 2 5-gallon buckets on the ground. They did not even touch it. They literally ignored it. Why? I realized they were used to be addicted. Because their mamas would have went for that corn right away. But my cattle have been used to eating grass and legumes and brassica, something they were made to eat. They're not made to eat corn. That's why you have to get them antibiotics, because it's killing their liver. But awesome for cool season grasses. How about legumes? And that's a peas. I grow peas. So now, you guys grow soybeans, right? You got one legume growing. I got peas, I got soybeans, I got sweet corn, I got corn, I got sunflowers, got all these different varieties. And these things are great, but you gotta be careful. You don't want to get too out of control with too much nitrogen. There's gotta be a balance to stuff. Brassicas. You rarely ever see that in one's cash crop rotation, unless you're a vegetable person. Then you are growing a lot of vegetables. You're growing food for people. Many, many great benefits to the brassica. Capturing all the NP and K, very good. Great at penetrating the soil. We all know tillage rash, right? I'm not a huge fan of tillage rash because I think it's a overpriced product. Just because it was the first rock star out there for cover crops. There's better ones. Kale, I can graze kale, it regrows. I grow rash for kale, a cow comes by, kicks it, it's done. Man, I just spent double the money and I'm getting less back from it. Natural. When I was flying that drone, that video, the reason why I put that in is because I'm putting mustard out there. Why am I putting mustard? Because it's a natural fumigant. And my sweet corn, guess what? They don't want worms in there. So they will spray the heck out. I don't want them spraying chemicals for that. So I fight it with the plant. High seed count. Boy, many of those varieties have 170,000 seeds per pound. That's a lot of seeds you can get out there at a cheap price. And when it's dry, like last year when I'm seeding in dry conditions, all my brassicas grew fantastic. The grasses had a little hard time. Now if it's wet out, guess what? my grasses usually dominate. Great moisture. My cattle, I had grazing about, 3/4 of a mile away from the farm. And when I took brassicas out one year of the cover crop to graze, my water consumption literally tripled. So now I was hauling water, twice a day. When I have brassicas out there, they literally, one tank would last me 2 days, easy. In the winter time, well, it was another time, probably December, early December, brassicas out there, a little bit of snowfall, the water froze. Like, okay, because this paddock had a water supply. I thought, man, they haven't got any water for about a week now. They're not bellowing, they're not complaining. I walked out there, called them all in, here, Bessie. They all follow me, and I walked into that wind for about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. Got the cattle up to the yard, got them into the farmyard. They walked in, looked at the feed bunk, looked at the water, and turned around and walked right back out the other way. They literally taught me. I thought that I knew better than them. Absolutely not. Those cows know a lot. They got a little bit of moisture from the snow because they're grazing nonstop. If you're giving corn fed, you're in a bunk, right? They're not getting moisture. The brassicas gave them water. The snow gave them water. They took care of themselves. So, pollinators, rethink what actually benefits you. I'll guarantee you bugs, insects are a plus for you. Yes, I hate mosquitoes too. And I hate other worms that go into the corn, but if you bring them all in, they're an army ready to work for you. Pollinators bring in those insects. Bees, right? Bees are awesome. We lose bees, we lose food, period. Give the soil a chance to reach its full potential. For every one bad insect, and I couldn't find it. I've heard 1,200 species of insects are killed when you're after one bad one. I don't think it's that high, I don't really know. But I guarantee it's at least 700 insects are killed for every bad one. I want predators. Who's seen Yellowstone when they introduced the wolves back into Yellowstone? You ever seen that video on Yellowstone, guys? They introduced wolves back in. They brought the predators in. Absolutely changed everything. Made it much more resilient. We're out there trying to kill every bad bug, every bad guy. Tell you what, bring in some good predators, they'll take out those bugs. So, that's cover crops on a row crop and a livestock system. I'm always thinking, how do I get more forage possibilities? I got cow-calf feeders, mostly dairy here. Is there cow-calf? No one's got livestock? What do you got? Beef cow-calf. All right, any dairy here? Okay. I'm not a dairy guy, so I'm sorry, Tony. You know more than me anyway, so. But cow-calf feeders, I adjust what I'm growing to them. What to plant, what chemicals are used, grazing, cutting, covers being planted, diversity again, right? Man, I'm throwing diversity at you guys. So more forage possibilities. I have a better diverse crop rotation. That gives me more possibilities. Small grains, canned crops, shorter maturity. I can reduce my 105 day down to a 98 day, 92 day. That gives me more forage possibilities. Diversity in what the livestock consume. They don't just eat one variety of alfalfa now. They get a smorgasbord of everything. How do I do it? I interseed them. Yes, this is row crop, but I'm doing this for my cattle to get more forage possibilities. That is the cheapest thing I ever made. 2 junk rotary hoses in the junk pile, put them together. Now I'm doing an operation. I always thought that if this works really good, I will rebuild it and make a better one. And I thought, why do I want to spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 when this cost me like $1,200? And I can do everything in 2 days. 40 foot wide, 10 miles an hour, you can do a lot of seeding. Of course, see that soil? I did plant covers there the year before. It wasn't my fault, but the environment said, nope, we're not gonna be good for you growing covers, so just because you saw bare soil doesn't mean that's the way I wanted it. What do I like to seed? If it's in corn, well, corn or sunflowers. Heavy bounty ryegrass, that would be the staple of the program. And then I always throw in bayou kale, so now I got brassica along with that grass. I like the red clover, why? Why do I like red clover? Biology, but it also competes. It can handle the pressure of a corn plant, a grass, a brassica. It will compete and do a good job for me. Buckwheat, why do I have that in there? Pollinator. Man, the best thing you can have in a cornfield is a pollinator. Out there helping you fight those bad bugs. Common vetch. I don't use hairy vetch very often because that's a really hard seed. So the germination, could be more like 70% germination off of that hard seed. A common or a cahaba will be more like 30 or 20%. So I have less regrowth the next year if I don't want it. Sometimes I want it, sometimes I don't. Every field is different. Radish, I'll put in there if I'm after compaction, but they're all breaking compaction. It's not my best grazer, I'll tell you that. Cowpeas, buckwheat again, sorry. Purple top turnip, as you can see. You can grow them big, but I'm not after big. I'm after the biology. Every time I've pulled a purple top turnip up, it's always had a worm under it. I don't care when I pull it up to, it can be December 15th, it can be January 15th. There will be a worm attached to that thing. And when you're done, guess what? That corn crop, cash crop comes off, now I get to capitalize on my second cash crop. And that's the forage I put out there for my cattle. And it's ready to graze. That's literally 2 days after planting. But if you don't have livestock, you can get free range vegans. Put an ad marketplace, they'll come. But make sure you use a high strength fencer because you're not quite smart enough that meat is good for you. Meat is good. Plants are good for you too, but I will say, seriously, of all animals in the world, there's less than my fingers and toes combined that are toxic to us. Animals' superpower is they get to eat those plants. And those plants, there's a lot more out there of plants that will kill you. But why would they kill you? Why would Mother Nature try and kill you with a plant? Because she wants to be covered. It was designed and made to do that. The animals have their senses. They know what to eat and what not to. Us humans, we're stupid. We'll eat anything, right? Look at the food system we have. We eat anything. So, just because I made fun of vegans for a little bit, don't get mad at me. But that's what it looks like the next year. So I capitalized on it. My cash crop of corn, my forage grazing in the fall, and then the winter hits. Springtime comes and it all regrows. Does your corn plant regrow, Mike?
No.
Wish it did, right? How about soybeans? My sunflowers don't. But when I do my covers right, they do. And I'm capitalizing on that. Spend money one time, get multiple benefits from it. Now, cow-calf feeders. I drive out my yard, I look this way, cow-calves, now the baby calves are pulled off, but they were grazing that way. Feeders are grazing that way. High-end feeders are close to market or in a smaller paddock, so they're not walking much, they're that way. They're all over the place, but realistically, when it's cow-calf, I just want to give them as much forage as they want. I'm not too picky on what they eat. I get the feeders, I can't finish with corn, right? I used to think there was a big secret of how you finish grass-finished beef. They must know it in France and Europe because they're doing an awesome job. It's not. There's no special thing. It's just give them plenty to eat. Give them a smorgasbord. They will pick. When I first started doing grazing, paddock grazing, I thought, man, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to write down on a piece of paper what they eat when they go into that paddock. I sat there for a half hour. Wrote that down. And this is like a 30-way mix. Wrote that down, another one. I got to 5, I said, okay, I know it all. Now I don't have to spend money on those other cover crops. And then 2 days later, when we moved to paddock, they grazed something totally different. And I was like, oh, damn, again, threw it out because they were teaching me. I led the cows in to get water and stuff, they didn't eat it. I thought I was giving them a cover crop that they were gonna eat, the food system that they wanted. Those plants are pulling up different nutrients at different times. They know it, we don't. Let them choose. So, what to plant? Quantity versus quality. You know, you got winter rye, winter trid, winter wheat. They're all in the same family. Winter rye will give me tonnage. It's probably not the best feed source. It's an okay one. If I want better, I'll go to winter trid. I get a little less tonnage, but better feed quality. Well, I'm more worried about wanting better quality. Now I'll go to winter wheat. Better food quality, but lower tonnage. You can dance around between these species to get what you want. Just because a radish is a radish doesn't mean there's not different radishes. I just found out yesterday there's 2 different types of buckwheat in the United States. One is more like a oats, and one is, well, I don't know if it's in the United States. Well, I'm sure there is. I was listening to John Kim podcast, that's how I found that out. But I'm used to the buckwheat that has a funky looking seed, and it's great. But now there's another one, there's another variety that does kind of the same thing, but it has different attributes, advantages, something to look into. Warm season versus cool, I'm always looking at that. Cutting, forage, or grazing. I would rather not cut, because I don't want to start that tractor, I don't want to run that baler, I don't want to buy plastic and twine. Let them graze it, it's an advantage. I know we're up north and I hate not having snow, but it's real easy because now I'm grazing literally year round. Don't know if I'll always be able to do it, but I think the cattle are trained now enough, so when we do get snow, they will be able to graze. And they have before, but I've never gone the whole winter. But I do believe I can. Single versus multi-species. So, see this multi-species? You got millet, you got sorghum, and the cool thing is you got all this top growth that you see, but then underneath it there's a whole nother layer. They go through, we run through, graze off that top. Those are the warm season grasses. Then all of a sudden the stuff underneath comes up. I got my cool season over there. And then there's a whole nother rotation that I get to do. I get to come around. And usually below those brassicas, and there's some clovers too. Have a nice balance. But I don't have to graze stuff that I planted. I can also graze what Mother Nature put out there. Corner of woodlots. You know, just because you think it's a weed, the cows might not. We have cucumber vines on our fences. When I put the cows out there, they go right there and eat that. It's like, man, I can let them do it. I literally spend 20 minutes putting I'm on a back road, so not on a heavy road. I'll graze all my ditches. Literally takes us 15 minutes to put wire up. Cows go out there for a day, and then they're done. Ditch is mowed, it's beautiful. If I was gonna go out there and mow it, it'd be a 3-hour mow job. I'd spend a bunch of money, I'd break stuff. What's the better yield? Yeah, if you mowed it, it might look better. I don't think so. What's the better ROI? Oh man, I just got paid to give them food. And of course, teaching these animals how to eat again, just like us, I guarantee you we don't all eat very healthy. We might try, but we are failing miserably. The cows, when they first started, remember I told you they would eat the corn? Now they don't really care about the corn because there's so much more out there for them. These guys, when I first started grazing sunflowers, and I put sunflowers in mixes, not for the cows, I put it for my wife. Because she liked to drive down the road and see sunflowers. So it was beautiful. Because I drive down there, I was like, oh, look at those cows, guys, beautiful. And my wife's like, yeah. Gave her a flower. Now she loves it. Now the cows love it. So, cool, I went fast. Getting animals on the ground makes the soil healthy. And it doesn't matter if it's green or if it's high carbon nitrogen source. The cattle will pick and eat what they need. They will balance it themselves. And this looks like landmines to city people, right? I call it gold mines. Because every dropping is just absolutely pure life. That's what's building our soil. You always hear beef is bad, right? Well, that's BS. Bad beef could be bad. But good beef like this can change everything. So, chemicals. If you're going to be doing these forages in the cover crop or in the corn or sunflowers or whatever after oats, you better read labels. Because most pre-emergence herbicide out there is really hard on cover crops and for grazing purposes. Kind of makes sense though. If something's out there to kill something, it's probably going to have a bad effect on something else too. Alright, the best weed killer, I'll guarantee you, is the worst one for your cattle, for forage possibilities. Everyone always wants the biggest and best. Get out of that mindset. So warm season, cool season. If I'm planting these cover crops, I do plant cool season in with my warm seasons. You saw that sorghum and millet up tall. I put the cool season in there too because they're getting shaded out. They're not getting the full sun. But I do not plant warm season cover crops into a cool season mixture in the fall. Remember, I think it was a successful farmer here like 6 years ago. Oh, tillage radish cover crops don't work. I planted this radish in October 15th in southern Iowa. It didn't grow. Well, no kidding. Wrong seed, wrong time. Make sure you're planting the right stuff at the right time. And that's not a warm season anywhere after September 1st up here, I guarantee it. Warm season, if I'm planting warm season, it always has at least 2 to 5, and I prefer 5, of a grass, and a legume, and a brassica, and there should be a pollinator on there too. Multiple things. Sunflowers, they're beautiful, they're blooming, they're great, great pollinator. I also put sun hemp if the seed is available, because it has to come in from Jamaica. But now I have another plant when the sunflowers die down. Now that sun hemp is growing. Multiple giving these insects things to eat. So cover crop mixes. That's a whole lot of reading. I'm not good at it. You can read it. Cocktails 30 to 40. I think 20-ish is great. I like those bio strips. Now I can go down to like 7 varieties in each one. And I heard here the other day with Kristen Jones, and once you get to 7 plants, the system starts working better. I was always trying to get to 2 or 3 when I first started. And then I realized how much I was gaining with these massive mixes. I was putting a lot in there, but trying to keep my money down because you don't want to go broke either. But it sounds like 7 is a really good spot to be, so think about that. Small grains, peas, that gives me huge options. Interseed and cash crop, I have to adjust for the chemical usually. When seed is mixed, I always set seed rate at 80% of the actual pounds of the largest seed. So put your mix together, you have, say you have 20 pounds of sorghum sedan in there, and then some legumes, Nebraska's really small seed. Just drop your percentage about 20%. Start from there. That's definitely not, every time you mix, it's going to be different, but that just gives you a good starting spot. So where do I plant covers, guys? Where do you think?
The whole farm.
Absolutely. The whole farm. Do I want to be clothed? I want my whole body clothed. That's why I even put a cowboy hat on, because my head's bald. I got to cover up. And you'll never know when you have a failure. Just because you plant something doesn't mean it's going to grow, but I want to give the best opportunities. Every year, rain, drought, if I have a mix out there, I will gain on it. Spring grazing, if it's going to be spring grazing in my program, I always make sure I put more seeding out there in the fall. Because I want to have more protection for that soil. And I'll also make sure more residue, which actually helps cover the ground in the wintertime. Diversity of livestock and for your livestock. I used to be cows and pigs and chickens. Not a lot of pigs and chickens, but I want that biology, and I love the meat. And there is good revenue streams out there, especially when eggs are $7, $8, which I think they should be. I think farmers should be getting paid $7, $8, but I don't think we're getting paid. I think the middleman's getting paid. But, back to this. More animals, more biology. Your soil gains from what goes on out the back of the cow and what it's eating out of its mouth. There's just as much biology from their drool. That stimulates plants. That's why grazing is a better option compared to cutting. I know we're up north, right? So we do have to cut some, but try. You'll be surprised. You'll do better than you think. Of course, smorgasbord. Cover crop grazing plant, that's what mine looks like. Fall plant stuff, I can at least get them out there on something green and it'll make the cows happy for a couple days. Then I'll pull them off, I'll let it regrow a little bit. But like I said, cereal grains in the fall usually don't get too tall. Bale grazing, now I start doing that too because I want the animals out there working because I hate my damn manure spreader. You know what? Leave that thing parked, let them spread for you. Fall grazing plan, just this fall alone, 120 acres of peas, 80 acres of corn grazing, 40 acres soybeans. Go back to another field of corn. Come back to a sweet corn field that has some higher carbon nitrogen ratio stuff that'll last into the winter time. Cattle still grazing right now, bale grazing. You ever heard of variable rate fertilizing, right? It's expensive, right? You gotta spend money on technology. There's my technology. Oh, I need nutrients out of the area? I need more biology? I put the damn bales right there. I let the cows go do the work. My chores are literally hop in the Ranger, drive out, cut the wrap off or twine off or whatever is on the bale, and set a poly. It takes us 10 minutes. I spend a half hour because I just enjoy watching the cows and learning from them.
Hi, this is Tom Cotter. I'm in southern Minnesota. It's January 27th. I'm opening up some new bales for my grass-fed feeders. Cows and calves are still grazing, but these guys, I don't like them walking too much because they're feeders. And I'm opening up these bales and they're gonna dig in. It's been really warm here the last week. You know, we had a week of really cold and now really warm, but I love the bale grazing. Great for the ground, but they have been grazing back into the sunflower field here the last probably 5 days, but it's time to get them some more of a feed source. So here we go, southern Minnesota making cover crops and soil health principles work. Thank you. Bye.
Guess what? See all the diversity in the cattle? Do I pick Angus? Do I pick Hereford? No. I pick the damn cow that'll stay out there in the wind, in the rain, in the snow, and work for me. Why do I want to say, oh, they're a baby, they're gonna go to the feedlot. Great, now I gotta go work, now I gotta go feed them, start the loaders, do chores. Your cattle work for you guys. We gotta get this thing right. We are working for them? No, they're supposed to be making us money. Let them do it. And let them teach you too. That diversity in the cattle, and then diversity in the crops too. Most times, a guy would do bale grazing, they'd come back with what crop after soybeans? What crop, kids?
Corn.
Corn, right? Guess what? Bale grazing of corn, where that residue is, usually not very good corn in that spot. And it's not a donut, it's not the nutrients, it's the actual residue on the ground feeding the soil life. Well, I'll tell you, when you go to sunflowers, I diversified and went to sunflowers after bale grazing. Now, and this guy is a friend of mine, John, from Canada. He's in soil health too, he does a fabulous job. This is what I saw. Sunflowers, 1.5 feet taller, already budding out, huge heads, compared to not. And it's absolutely not the nutrients. It's the biology that you're gaining from covering that ground. Like I said, it'd be a donut otherwise, and it's not. But if I didn't diversify my cash crop, I would have never saw that. So, maximizing all these benefits of soil health. We've talked cattle, we've talked crops. What about how does it benefit us? not just the farm, but us. Farm incomes, plural. How many incomes you get off your field of corn? One. What do you get after that? None, right? So now you're a farmer, you got one income of corn, one of soybeans, maybe cattle, maybe oats. Tell you what, we started a whole new company off of diversifying. That's him. I'm in Minnesota. It's legal there. I don't know what's over here.
Not legal.
Not legal. Oh, just kidding. Oh. But I worked with plants. When my friend came to me and said, hey, do you want to start this business? We'll grow hemp for CBD, and CBD is phenomenal. And I thought, sure. I grow 60 other kinds of plants. Why would this one be any different? And guess what? That plant taught me so much. It taught me about the connection that we have with people. Farming creates inflammation, right? Everything we do, we are creating inflammation. You spray, you do tillage, you cut, you pull, you take it in the soil, you put it into a food product or an energy product, and people are getting inflamed. Hemp's number one thing is anti-inflammation. That's the best benefit from hemp. So started that. Got into grass fence. We did 500 feeder cattle on sweet corn for my whole life growing up. Never did any bale grazing, never nothing. We barely even had to cut alfalfa because our feed source was right there. This fell into our lap. Of course, all the neighbors would say at the coffee shop to my dad, well, you guys do cover crops because you got livestock. Like, no, but it is icing on the cake. Got me to be a seed dealer and a mentor. Terrible salesman. Couldn't sell you anything. But I'll teach you, and I'm passionate, and that's an advantage that you have. Who wants to go buy a car from a dealer just says, oh yeah, great car, great everything. But not actually tell you, oh, you know, usually at 100,000 miles that thing breaks down. It happens. I like being a seed dealer. Well, I'm kind of dumb because I started the other business, but that was one of the revenues we started. Custom seed opportunities. Tons of guys spraying, tons of guys at combine. How about seeding cover crops? You can bring a kid back. There's another job for your son to get back on the farm. It's a pretty good benefit to your farm having your son come back, right? Or daughter. Organic crops. Like I said, never, ever, ever dreamed that I was going to raise organic, but fell into it because we're doing good things. And good things, you do good things, guess what? Good things happen. That crop was my first organic crop. Cleanest field I had compared to chemicals, anything. That was the best. I just happened to plan and time it right. Doesn't happen all the time like that. I can do pretty good. But I also had disasters, but guess what? Those cows, they've been trained to eat everything. If I have a problem with organic, my insurance program is go have the cows eat the weeds off, or the crop, or whatever. Community support. I'd say this is a pretty good benefit. You know, you guys are doing a great job here. It's not just the farmers. We got to get everyone involved in this. Outreach and education. It kind of goes hand in hand, but you know that is people that just literally buy meat from me, buys products. Those sunflowers I grow, they go into cereals that they buy. Because they know that, oh, your crop goes into that cereal, 7 Sundays, Simple Meals, all right, I'm going to buy it. Outreach, teaching you guys, but we got to teach the consumer too. Benefits of weather. I'm on this side, and that's my neighbor. How did his soil health affect him? Oh, I got a drainage problem. BS. You got a water infiltration problem. Because I know, because you guys came over to my side and ran a scope up through the tile line, they're all sitting empty. And most tile guys will tell you, it's not a drainage problem, it's an infiltration problem. I have to capture all that water. The only way I can really do it is either with cricks or with soil health. How about dealing with benefits of air temperature? This is last week in Minnesota. 26 degrees out, The residue on top of my ground was 48, the residue. Peeled it off, we dropped about 10 degrees, 10 or 12 degrees. And then I went over in my neighbor's field, 26 degrees out. No wonder why we don't have snow, because I'm reading 73 degrees on that black dirt. Now I will tell you, I cheated, and I went this way, out of the wind. And it went up that. And I went to the wind, it dropped 66. But that's still really high, guys, right? 66 degrees, no wonder why we don't have snow. We can't hold our snow. Remember I said snow protects our cover crops? I screwed up. I meant to tell you residue holds my snow. And then the snow holds my cover crops and protects them. You gotta have residue out there, carbon nitrogen ratio, to capture and protect and shade. So capturing, retaining this useful rainfall. If I do tillage, there's always a plant getting put in right after it. Protect the soil with high carbon nitrogen ratio plants and green plants. Cash crop species are based on annual rainfall, but use covers to react to the present weather trend. Seems kind of weird, doesn't it? Well, if I'm growing a plant and it's dry out, guess what? I want to have something out there that doesn't use much water. For me, I go to a millet, some kind of millet. Sorghum Sudan is great for cattle. Man, that sucks up a lot of water. I have to mill it. Adjust. Remember, we have to be a jack of all trades and adapt to our environment. That's adapting. I don't go put a legume out there, interseed it. If it's dry and gonna suck up, I look for a legume that doesn't need much moisture at all. Now, things change, but you can see trends, right? We kind of saw this dry winter time coming, didn't we? I saw it in my place, I know that. Most fields, yeah, water and drainage problem, absolutely. But it's not about how much rain that fell from the clouds, how much did you capture, right? How much rain you get? I got all of it. Most guys, if they're honest, they say, oh, I lost about 60%. So, right here, everyone's seen this. This is down, so this is the best picture I could come up with. Do you know what those buckets are called? You guys don't know what the buckets are called?
Rivers.
Okay, you're right, water buckets. But to me, I'd say this is my regulation bucket. That's the ammunition that city people have to say, you guys are doing a shitty job. And we're gonna make you do what we want. I'd much rather do what I want. Ask my wife. But guess what? There's also another jug. Water jug. That's my gas tank for my cash crop. That's what's going to get me through August when it's really dry. That is what's going to put 20 more bushels on my crop because I captured that water instead of letting it run off. Hard to argue. It's really hard to argue. You can see which ones are doing better. Plain as day. If you do these things, we're capturing carbon and water. And I think it's almost ridiculous to be getting paid to capture carbon. Because if you capture water, you're doing things right, you're capturing carbon, and it's way cheaper and easier to monitor. Fall tillage, spring tillage, it's about the same cost as cover crops and fall planting, right? Pretty hard, you can argue both ways. But you start taking the hidden things. Remember I said, look at what's hidden behind the actual real effects of chemical and physical disturbing. This is the hidden stuff. This is twice the tillage tools required, twice the maintenance cost, twice the labor, larger tractors, more erosion. Thanks to Tom, we put in there 5 tons of soil that you will lose every single year. How much was a ton of soil cost?
$30 a ton.
$30 a ton. So we figured out 150. So 150 bucks.
Just over 100.
So now put that into your ROI when you're figuring, oh, cover crops don't work. Well, geez, I just saved $150. Now I haven't done this yet, and I'm going to put a challenge to you guys, and then send me a picture. When your neighbor's soil runs off, get a burlap bag, fill it with the dirt, put it on the post, and then write for sale, 50 bucks, 50 pounds. And now realize that their soil is costing them money. And I bet you you'll get people buying it too. Well, I wouldn't, because there's probably too much of everything you don't want in there. But you do things right, look at how you can reduce everything. And you're saving your soil. My cover crops, when I spread manure into organic, because guess what? I'm doing tillage. I don't want to do tillage to work in the manure, cow manure. I want the plants to grab it. So I make sure my plants get up really nice and high so they shade it out. And if it is off-gassing, guess what? Those plants are capturing, because isn't it not the underside of the plant, the leaves are actually capturing? Let that do that. I always plant the cover crop first, and then if I'm applying manure, and that's your scenario too. Covers first, protect the soil. I'm capturing nutrients, I'm giving nutrients. Why I graze cover crops? This is old data too, so it's probably a lot more. I'm just going to say, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Yes, I do some investing, but it's paying me back tenfold. You just don't really see it as much on paper. Oop. Why would I chop silage, right? Soil health, financial goals, field goals. Financially, I'm getting benefits from the cover crop for my soil health practices. Soil health make goals possible. Conventional, I want to diversify my markets. Organic, field production is up to, that typo, 2,000 bushel. I wish it wasn't. It actually is. That's more realistic. Cool.
The microphone's cool.
Mike Lindbergh. All right.
I'll get battery.
You see that? 2,000 bushel? Yeah, we all know that's BS. But you guys are in the mindset of yield. Think about ROI. I can do that. I have done that on different crops even. That's a pretty dang good ROI, right? Not always. I'm not bragging because I don't have the best, I don't have the worst, I'm just kind of all over the place. But if you make it work, with putting all these things together, cattle, grazing, diversity, it works. Now, easy as 1, 2, 3, right? All these benefits, it is, it really is. Pluses, for everything I do, I put a plus or a negative. Super easy, but you gotta be honest. You gotta really look at what you're doing and say, okay, is that good or bad? Simple as that. Here's what I put on, because I have organic and no-till. My conventional farm, back when I was younger, used to look like that. -6. What does that mean? That just means that I want to get better. Doesn't mean I'm a bad guy. Doesn't mean I'm a shitty farmer. Just means I got to try and do better. So now, I take my, well, I call it conventional, but it's no-till organic, or no-till cover crops, cattle grazing, everything all combined. And I add it up. I'm at a +3. Is it like that every year? Nope. It adjusts. But I just always make sure that my trajectory is upward and not downward. My organic, that's a +4. I will say my organic ground looks better than my conventional. Not by a lot, and it's not always is. It all depends on the weather and what happens. If I have to do more tillage than I want, because bad things happen. It's how you react to them. That work? Yeah. Another benefit of doing soil health principles, practices. I used to always say, future generations excited about agriculture, because I guarantee my grandkids drive down my road, they know it's different than every other field around us. But that's not the case. Present people are getting excited. Past farmers are excited. I see more guys 75 years old absolutely loving what they're doing. Finally, because for the last 25 years they haven't. How do you put money on that? let's see, going to nursing home, being disgruntled because you've had a tough life, or waking up and having a smile and say, oh, I don't want to go to the nursing home because I'm healthy. I'm happy, because happy really does convert to healthy too. That's why cows, I watch them because they teach me that. Soil health has a ripple effect, guys, on the environment, the ag economy. I switched it up, food quality. This is Ray Archer-led slide. Soil's naked, hungry, thirsty. Pretty bad ripple effect. But I'm like Ray, it's more than that. It's shelterless. It's good to close something, but to me that's not shelter. Having bean residue on the farm, that's close. Having higher carbohydrate corn stalks, sunflower stalks, to me that's more of a shelter. That's why I put that in there. But it's also addicted, right? Told you those cows that I used to have used to be addicted, they're not addicted now. The soil is addicted. Is there any married couples here? With their wife? No? Well, you're married. Did you have to earn your right to marry your wife?
Real hard.
Really hard. Excellent answer. I was trying to like trick someone and have them say, oh, the best thing is, no. The best thing is your marriage life. But you have to treat it right. You have to earn the right to get married. You have to earn the right to get these things off addiction. And that's by reducing everything as much as you can. I will say, soil life out there is lonely too. Remember, corn plant, soybean plant, there's not a lot of biology working with all those. You put in there a whole bunch of species, now you brought that soil life alive, and it's working together. And we're doing a pretty piss poor job. I already showed you, talked about why city people might not like the water runoff. But in Minnesota, we have water quality. Yeah, we're doing good things. We got that sign. We have that store in Superior. Well, now I'm separated. I'm not doing that no more. But the Superior Cannabis Company ran a store in Duluth, Minnesota, which is right on the bottom of Duluth or Lake Superior. And we're verified regenerative, we're certified organic, and we're water quality certified. Every single person who walked into that store to buy something loved the clean water. Who doesn't love clean water? Most city people have no idea what organic is, what regenerative is, but they do know water. Protect it. And my dad got to see that before he passed away. That's priceless. And now if we're doing such a good job financially, why are we on an endangered list? Where our jobs are dropping. There are less farmers and farmers out there. We're right up there with the meter reader. Seriously? We grow food for people? If we grow food. Maybe we're not growing food. But those jobs, yeah, sorry that they're getting replaced. Sorry that we're getting replaced, but if we do a good job, maybe we won't be. Bankruptcies. If we're doing a good job, why do we have all these bankruptcies? How about farmer suicides? We consistently rank in the top 10 in jobs with high suicide rates. I truly think it's because we're not doing a good job. You know who else is on that list? Doctors. Isn't that crazy? They make good money, but are they doing it the right way? Are farmers doing it the right way? We have a lot of pressure on us, but I will tell you, farmers are survivors. Nutrient density, it's dropping. But it can go the other way. I wholeheartedly believe food is medicine. These practices help get that food better. I reached out to a bunch of researchers and they sent me like 10 pages of this fine line paper of just like, oh my gosh, I can't read that. I just want something simple and basic so me and my family can understand. This is the best I could come out of all those papers, so I apologize. But now, the ripple effect, sun, light, carbon dioxide, water, hit that plant. They go down and they feed mycorrhizal fungi and bacteria. Oh, but only if you take care of them. If you beat the crap out of them, it's gonna be hard to feed them. And then they go down, and fungi, what do? They attach on your roots and make those roots up to about 1,000 times bigger. And it's true. They can literally signal the other side of the field in a second, less than a second, if you give it the chance to grow. Bacteria, they go in, they break down soil particles, turn them into nutrients. Just what we need. This evolution, this recycling has been happening for thousands and thousands, millions of years actually. And we think we can come and mess it up. It comes down, you have healthy soil, you have unhealthy soil. Carbon increased, water, irrigation, all that mumbo jumbo. To me, I went down to Oaxaca, Mexico, and I learned from people down there rich water, poor water. Super simple terms. None of all that reading stuff that you guys probably already know. But this guy told me, rich water falls from the heavens, lands on your soil, soaks through the soil, feeds your plants, captures nutrients, minerals, puts it in aquifers, and you get water in those aquifers. That's rich water. Poor water falls from the heavens, hits your field, grabs your chemicals, your fertilizer, all your nutrients, and resin and soil particles, and takes them down the river. And now they're gone. And guess what? You pay money. So that's why it's called rich water, poor water. Pretty simple. Now, this is how I like to see my fields. And why do I like it like that? Because I can turn around later on and look at the field and say, oh man, there's a whole lot of less. In a world where people want more, what do you see less of right there? Now, please, third graders, help me with this, because I cannot name them all. I've done this a bunch of times, but I forget everything. But what do you see less of there, Mike?
Less soil.
Less soil. What else? Oh man, you guys do not get lunch, right? Do not hand out those sheets. What else do you see less of, guys? I can't. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here for tell you my life lessons, and then you guys got to be brave enough to accept your life lessons. What do you see less of?
Weeds.
Less weeds?
Yeah.
All right, less weed pressure. What else? Less what?
Living plant.
But what?
Living plant.
Less living plants? Oh, I'm interested in that, trust me. You're right there, but that's covering the soil. Less manpower, less equipment needed, less weed pressure, so that means less chemical, insecticide, less fungicides. I don't spray fungicide or insecticide. What else?
Less evaporation.
Less evaporation. How about less, you guys saw that radar gun, right? How about less temperature swings? I showed you guys wintertime. That's nothing compared to summertime. We can be 130, 140 degrees on black dirt, easy. How about nighttime? The ground has a blanket, right? I'm protecting it. Less temperature swings, high and low. What else?
Less runoff.
Less runoff. That's the good one. You know why? Less runoff means less regulations coming down the pipeline, less bad press from people. How about less nutrients needed? If you strip till it, you can cut your nutrients, cut it by 20%. I think you could easily go 50%, because those plants are capturing everything. What else?
Less horsepower.
Less horsepower, absolutely. I've already gave you guys all the answers in those other slides, so that's how I know you guys weren't paying attention. No, there's a whole lot less. And I guarantee you, as you drive home, you can think of this and think, yeah, I did less of that, less of this. It's not always about more. Who was I talking to today that's talking about, it's not making the money, it's saving the money. I forget who that was. But it's always been about ROI, guys. We got tricked into thinking more, yield is king. No, yield is money in their pockets, but not in ours. And I'll show that later. Biggest soil health failures, you don't plant something. Just plant something, period. When in doubt, I plant. Thinking tillage chemical will solve everything. I still got weeds, I still got wet spots from doing that stuff. Now it's different with soil health. Cover crop termination. If you're gonna grow something, you gotta learn how to control it too. Mother Nature can throw a twist in there, but you can do it. Not realizing that everything is connected. Absolutely. If you think you're gonna do one thing on the farm that's not gonna affect the other part of your farm, you're wrong. It will. Butterfly effect. Not enough diversity. I love diversity in everything. I'll talk more about that later, even though I think I've talked about it like, what, 30 times so far? For every action, there is a reaction. Positive or negative. Doesn't matter if we're talking about our community, our family, our farming life, going to the dang gas station. You walk in, if you're negative, guess what the reaction is going to be? It's going to be back tenfold, because the next 10 people who walk in that gas station is going to get that clerk being rude to them. All you got to do is say a smile and say hello. All you got to do is treat your soil good. You'll get something back. You take care of the land will take care of you. You do something bad, guess what? You're going to end up paying for it. Yeah, you might gain on yield, but you're going to lose on it on ROI. Not listening to Mother Nature. Do you think she's pissed? Kids, you think she's pissed? Yeah, she's pissed. She's screaming at us. She's saying, no snow for you guys. Or we're going to make it really hot. Or we're going to make it really cold. We'll talk more about that later. But no matter which way you look at it, you do this stuff. There's endless benefits for all. Soil, it's fed, it's covered. Animals, they're fat and happy. And future generations.